You wake up at 3 a.m. with that familiar existential dread creeping in, wondering why your life feels like a cosmic joke you're not in on. Here's the uncomfortable truth most spiritual teachers won't tell you. Nothing about your current situation is an accident. That difficult mother, chosen, your commitment-phobic soulmate, pre-selected, even your worst enemy. Yep, you basically swiped right on them before birth. Your soul essentially signed the spiritual equivalent of terms and conditions without reading them, agreeing to a curriculum designed specifically to break you open in all the right places. Feel that slight chill running down your spine? That's your soul recognizing something it already knows but your human mind finds terrifying. Ancient traditions from Tibet to indigenous cultures describe these pre-birth contracts as sacred agreements, soul-level Netflix subscriptions to the drama series called Your Life. The Tibetan Book of the Dead calls it choosing your next incarnation. Hindu texts refer to karmic debts and soul groups. Sounds insane, maybe. But it explains why random encounters feel destined and why certain people trigger you instantly. Let's explore how these cosmic contracts actually work. Picture the most important business meeting of your existence, except everyone's made of light, and the conference table is floating in interdimensional space. Welcome to what I like to call your soul's cosmic board meeting, that pre-incarnation planning session where you somehow convinced yourself that choosing difficult parents and a challenging life path was a brilliant idea. You know, with the same confidence you had when choosing your college major, completely certain you knew what you were getting into. The thing is, you actually did attend this meeting. Every single one of us did, and if you could remember the minutes from that ethereal conference room, you'd probably want to have some serious words with your past life self about their questionable decision-making skills. Here's how it works in the interlife realm, that cosmic waiting room between incarnations. You're floating there in your pure consciousness state, probably feeling pretty enlightened and wise, when suddenly you get the spiritual equivalent of a calendar notification. Soul planning session, conference room infinity, don't be late. Time is an illusion anyway. You drift into this space that exists beyond physical dimensions, where your council of guides is waiting. Think of them as having the patience of customer service representatives dealing with particularly difficult clients, except they've been doing this job for millennia, and they've seen every possible variation of soul drama. They're ancient, wise beings who've witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, and yet here they are, calmly explaining to you why incarnating as a human in the 21st century might be more challenging than you think. The lead guide, let's call them your cosmic life, coach, materializes in whatever form brings you comfort. Maybe they appear as that wise grandmother energy, or perhaps as a being of pure golden light with the voice of Morgan Freeman. They've got your soul's entire evolutionary history spread out before them like the world's most complex spreadsheet. Every lifetime, every lesson learned, every pattern still needing work, it's all there in glowing, multi-dimensional detail. So, they say, with the kind of infinite patience that only comes from existing in pure consciousness, let's talk about your next adventure in physical reality. What are we thinking? Easy mode this time? Or are we feeling ambitious again? And here's where it gets interesting, because you, in your infinite soul wisdom, probably raised your ethereal hand and said something like, "Actually, I think I'm ready for the advanced course. Maybe throw in some family trauma, a few financial challenges, and let's make it really interesting by having me forget all of this cosmic perspective the moment I'm born." Your guides exchange those looks. You know the ones, the same expression your friends had when you announced you were going to run a marathon without training. But they don't stop you, because that's not how this cosmic democracy works. They're like having the world's most patient life coach, except they exist in pure consciousness and have witnessed every possible human mistake at least 17,000 times. The collaborative nature of this planning process is fascinating. Your guides offer wisdom, suggest alternatives, maybe point out that choosing to work through abandonment issues and commitment phobia in the same lifetime might be a bit ambitious. But ultimately, you're the one making the choices. You're scrolling through potential life scenarios like you're browsing Netflix, except the stakes are slightly higher and the reviews are written by other souls who've tried similar experiences. Okay, so we've got the soul growth objectives mapped out, your guide continues, pulling up what looks like a cosmic Pinterest board of life possibilities. Now, let's talk specifics. Physical traits. Are we thinking tall, short, somewhere in between? Remember, Body image issues are very trendy in the early 2000s, if that's when you're planning to incarnate. This is where you start making choices that your future human self will either thank you for or curse you about during particularly difficult therapy sessions. Eye colour, genetic predispositions, that stubborn cowlick that no amount of hair product will ever tame. You're selecting these features like you're customizing a character in the universe's most consequential video game. But the really complex decisions come when choosing your family dynamics. Your guides spread out soul contracts like they're dealing cards, each one representing a different soul who's agreed to play a role in your upcoming human drama. There's the soul who's going to be your overly critical mother. They're actually one of your closest soul family members, by the way, which explains why family relationships are so beautifully complicated. The father figure who'll struggle with emotional availability. Another dear soul friend who's taking on this challenging role to help you learn about unconditional love and forgiveness. Now, cultural context, your guide says, and suddenly you're looking at a global map that shows not just geography, but the emotional and spiritual climate of different regions and time periods. We've got some lovely options in Scandinavia, very progressive, excellent social services, great work-life balance. Or, they pause dramatically, there's this fascinating opportunity in a rapidly changing society where you'll get to experience technological revolution, social upheaval, and climate anxiety all in one convenient lifetime. Guess which one your soul probably chose? The Hermetic principles of responsibility and sovereignty are operating at full capacity here. You're not a victim of cosmic circumstance. You're the architect of your own experience, working with a team of guides who respect your free will, even when your choices make them want to facepalm in 4 dimensions simultaneously. This is where the question gets really juicy. Why would anyone choose difficulty? Why select the hard mode when easy mode is right there, glowing softly and promising a lifetime of minimal drama? The answer reveals both your soul's wisdom and its occasional questionable judgment. You chose challenges because comfort doesn't teach you anything new. You picked difficult relationships because they're the fastest way to learn about love, boundaries, and forgiveness. You selected this particular time period with all its chaos because rapid change creates rapid evolution. Your soul looked at the menu of earthly experiences and thought, I'll have the full catastrophe, please, with a side of spiritual awakening and extra opportunities for personal growth. And your guides, bless their eternal patience, simply nodded and started drafting the paperwork for your cosmic adventure, knowing full well that in about 30 years, you'd be lying awake at 3 a.m., wondering why your life feels so complicated. The beautiful irony is that this entire planning process, this careful, collaborative design of your human experience, gets completely wiped from your conscious memory the moment you take your first breath. It's like spending months planning the perfect vacation, then showing up at your destination with complete amnesia about why you chose to go there in the first place. But somewhere deep in your soul, you remember. In those moments of inexplicable knowing, in the way certain people feel like home immediately, in your uncanny ability to learn exactly the lessons you need most. That's your cosmic board meeting showing up in real time, revealing that maybe, just maybe, your pre-incarnation self knew exactly what they were doing. After all, you're lying there at 2 a.m., wondering why your soul thought it would be character building to choose parents who communicate exclusively through passive-aggressive sighs and the strategic placement of dirty dishes. Maybe you're staring at the ceiling, mentally rehearsing tomorrow's conversation with your mother who somehow turns every phone call into a masterclass on guilt distribution. Or perhaps you're contemplating your father's uncanny ability to express disappointment through eyebrow positioning alone. Here's the uncomfortable truth that'll either make you feel better or significantly worse. Your soul didn't accidentally stumble into your family dynamic like someone wandering into the wrong movie theatre. According to both ancient Hermetic teachings and modern spiritual psychology, you actually chose this particular circus, complete with all its dysfunction and drama. Your soul apparently looked at a family tree and thought, yes, this level of chaos will really help me learn patience. I know what you're thinking. My soul has terrible judgment. But before you file a cosmic complaint, consider this. That challenging family dynamic isn't punishment, it's curriculum. The Hermetic principle teaches that the soul is a co-creator of its reality, shaped by karmic consequences from past lives. Think of it as spiritual continuing education. Except instead of getting a certificate, you get therapy bills and an intimate understanding of boundary setting. Let's say your soul needed to learn patience in this lifetime. Did it choose a peaceful monastery surrounded by Zen gardens and meditation bells? Of course not. That would be like trying to learn swimming by reading about water. Instead, your soul selected the family where your teenage brother practices death metal at 6 a.m, and your sister treats every conversation like a competitive sport. Congratulations, you're enrolled in the advanced course. Or maybe your soul signed up to understand unconditional love. Did it pick parents who effortlessly radiate warmth and acceptance? Hardly. You got the ones who show affection through criticism disguised as concern, forcing you to excavate love from beneath layers of helpful suggestions about your life choices. It's like archaeological work, but with more emotional labour and fewer ancient artefacts. The family that drives you to distraction with their inability to load the dishwasher correctly. Perfect training ground for a soul learning to release control. The relatives who turn holiday dinners into diplomatic negotiations requiring UN-level mediation skills. Excellent preparation for a soul developing conflict resolution abilities. Your soul apparently believes in immersive learning experiences. Here's where it gets particularly twisted. The family members who push your buttons most effectively are often the ones your soul specifically requested. That aunt who always has opinions about your career, she might be part of your soul group playing the role of challenger to help you develop confidence in your choices. Your overly protective parent who questions every decision. Possibly another soul who agreed to help you learn independence through the time-honoured tradition of gentle rebellion. The Hermetic tradition suggests these family contracts are negotiated in the interlife realm, that cosmic planning session we explored earlier. Picture your soul in that pre-incarnation meeting, reviewing potential family options like you're scrolling through apartment listings. This one has excellent dysfunction ratings and really strong passive aggression features. The emotional unavailability is top tier, and look at these generational trauma patterns, perfect for what I'm trying to accomplish. But here's the part that might actually comfort you. These challenging dynamics aren't random acts of cosmic cruelty. They're specifically designed learning environments. The family that seems incapable of direct communication is teaching you to become fluent in subtext and emotional intelligence. The relatives who boundary stomp with Olympic-level dedication are providing intensive training in self-advocacy and limit setting. Consider the parent who never quite gives you the approval you crave. Frustrating? Absolutely. But that dynamic might be precisely what your soul needed to learn self-validation and internal worth. It's like spiritual boot camp, except the drill sergeant is someone who gave you piano lessons and packed your school lunches. The family member who triggers your deepest insecurities with surgical precision, they're probably reflecting back the exact patterns your soul came here to heal. It's uncomfortable because it's effective, like looking in a funhouse mirror that somehow reveals actual truths about yourself instead of just making you look weird. Even the family's specific brand of crazy serves a purpose. The household where emotions are discussed with the same comfort level as nuclear physics. Perfect training ground for a soul learning emotional literacy. The family that treats money like it's either completely unimportant or the source of all evil. Excellent preparation for developing a healthy relationship with abundance and security. Your soul chose not just individual family members, but the entire system. The way they interact, the unspoken rules, the holiday traditions that somehow always end in someone crying in the bathroom. These patterns create the perfect laboratory for whatever your soul came here to master. The beautiful and terrifying truth is that your family serves as both your greatest challenge and your most profound teacher. They know exactly how to activate your growth edges because your soul specifically enrolled in their masterclass. It's like having personal trainers for your emotional and spiritual development, except they're disguised as the people who know precisely which childhood nickname will reduce you to your 12-year-old self in seconds. This doesn't mean you have to like it, by the way. You can simultaneously appreciate the cosmic curriculum while also setting healthy boundaries and seeking therapy. Personal growth and self-preservation aren't mutually exclusive. They're actually complementary skills your soul probably came here to develop. Understanding this family selection process connects to larger karmic patterns and soul group dynamics that we'll explore further. But for now, lying there in the dark, maybe you can find some peace in knowing that your particular brand of family chaos isn't evidence of cosmic punishment. It's proof of your soul's ambitious educational goals. That person who makes your heart skip a beat, your soul has been playing cosmic tag with them for centuries. And before you start getting all romantic about it, let me tell you something that might make you question every butterfly you've ever felt in your stomach. Your soulmate might actually be that toxic ex who taught you what gaslighting was, or your best friend who somehow always knows exactly which insecurities to poke when they're having a bad day. I know. This isn't exactly the Disney version of soul connections you were hoping for, but here's the thing about those pre-life planning meetings we talked about earlier. Your soul apparently has a twisted sense of humour and a PhD in personal development through chaos. Think of it as the universe's most complicated dating app, except the matches are based on what you need to learn, not what you want to experience. And unlike Tinder, you can't just swipe left when someone challenges your entire worldview over coffee. Your soul already swiped right on that chaos before you were born. The spiritual realm operates on a completely different algorithm than your conscious mind. While you're out here looking for someone who shares your Netflix password and remembers how you like your coffee, your soul made agreements with other souls based on much more intense criteria. Hey, want to incarnate together so you can help me learn about forgiveness by absolutely wrecking my trust in humanity for the first half of my life? Apparently, that's considered a romantic proposal in the cosmic dating scene. Notice that instant recognition when you meet someone new. That's not déjà vu. That's your soul's memory bank firing up like an old computer trying to load a massive file. Your conscious mind is going, nice person, seems normal, while your soul is frantically flipping through its cosmic Rolodex going, oh shit, it's them. The one from the Renaissance who helped me learn about betrayal, and the Wild West incarnation where we explored abandonment issues, and that lifetime in ancient Egypt where... But here's where it gets really interesting. There are different types of soul connections, and confusing them is like showing up to a business meeting, expecting a birthday party. Soulmates are souls you've travelled with across multiple lifetimes, learning and growing together. They're your spiritual study group, and sometimes the curriculum involves heartbreak, conflict, and those conversations that end with someone sleeping on the couch. Twin flames, on the other hand, are supposedly your soul's other half, the mirror that reflects back everything you love and hate about yourself simultaneously. If soulmates are your study group, twin flames are like being assigned to work on a group project with yourself, except half of you procrastinates and the other half is a perfectionist control freak. It's spiritually significant and absolutely maddening. Then there are your soul group members, the supporting cast of your spiritual sitcom. These are the souls who show up as your ride-or-die friends, the mentor who changes your life trajectory, or sometimes that random stranger who says exactly what you need to hear at the perfect moment and then disappears forever like some kind of spiritual Uber driver. The contracts your soul made aren't written in cosmic stone. Remember, you still have free will, which means you can absolutely mess with the universe's carefully laid plans. Your soul might have arranged to meet your romantic soulmate at age 25 to explore themes of trust and intimacy. But if you spend that year hiding in your apartment binge-watching true crime documentaries and having trust issues with your food delivery driver, well, the universe has to get creative with Plan B. Sometimes souls plan to meet as romantic partners, but end up as best friends instead. Sometimes they're supposed to be brief encounters, but end up married for 40 years. Free will is like spiritual improvisation. Your soul set up the basic melody, but you're jazz soloing your way through the actual performance. Here's what gets really wild. Some of your most challenging relationships are actually your most devoted soul contracts. That family member who pushes every single button you have. Your soul probably specifically requested them for advanced level patience training. That boss who made your life hell but inadvertently forced you to find your backbone and quit to start your own business. Your soul might have hired them as the universe's most effective career counselor. The romantic soulmate connections often come with their own special brand of cosmic comedy. You'll meet someone and feel like you've known them forever, which is probably because you have. You'll have inexplicable chemistry mixed with the strangest sense of unfinished business. It's like your souls are picking up a conversation that was interrupted by death a few centuries ago. So anyway, as I was saying before, the play got me. But here's the part that might make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about love. These connections aren't always meant to last forever in this lifetime. Some soul contracts are designed for brief but transformative encounters. Your soul might have arranged a 6-month relationship that completely changes your understanding of what love can be, or a friendship that lasts exactly long enough to teach you something crucial about yourself before naturally evolving into something different. The flexibility of these contracts means that understanding them can be both liberating and absolutely terrifying. Liberating because it means that difficult relationship isn't a punishment, it's curriculum. Terrifying because it means you can't blame the universe for your dating life. You literally signed up for this chaos. And sometimes, just sometimes, you'll meet someone and everything clicks so perfectly that you suspect your soul spent extra time in the pre-life planning phase working out the details. These are the connections where you finish each other's sentences, where you can communicate entire conversations with just a look, where being together feels like the most natural thing in the world. Whether that's a romantic partner, a best friend, or even a pet who seems to understand you better than most humans, these smooth-sailing soul connections remind you that not every spiritual lesson has to involve drama and personal growth through suffering. Sometimes your soul just wants to experience pure joy and connection, like a cosmic vacation from all the heavy learning. The truth about soul connections is that recognizing them changes everything and nothing simultaneously. You still have to do the work of actual relationships, communication, compromise, showing up even when it's inconvenient. But knowing there's a deeper spiritual purpose behind your connections can help you approach them with more patience, curiosity, and maybe even gratitude for the beautiful mess your soul created. Imagine if your credit score included every questionable decision you've made across multiple lifetimes. That time you ghosted someone in ancient Rome, minus 50 points. The century you spent as a particularly ruthless tax collector. Your spiritual FOSO just plummeted into the maybe try being a houseplant next time category. Welcome to the cosmic accounting system that makes the IRS look merciful, your karmic credit report. And unlike your actual credit score, you can't dispute these charges by claiming identity theft. Though technically, you weren't quite the same identity when you racked up most of this debt. Here's where things get deliciously uncomfortable. Remember that family dynamic we talked about earlier? That soulmate who seems designed to push every button you didn't even know you had? They're not just random cosmic pranks. They're itemized statements from your karmic creditors, showing up with receipts from lifetimes you'd rather forget. Feel that inexplicable terror when someone mentions commitment? Could be because you left 3 people at various altars between 1847 and 1923. That boss who makes your eye twitch just by breathing? You might have been the one making someone else's life miserable when you had the power. Your soul has a memory like an elephant with a grudge and a filing system. But here's the twist that'll make your spiritual vertigo kick in. Karma isn't actually trying to punish you. I know, revolutionary concept when you're dealing with your 3rd narcissistic roommate in a row. Think of karma more like a cosmic education system, except instead of detention, you get to experience exactly what you put others through until you finally get it. The hermetic principle operating here is beautifully simple and absolutely terrifying. The soul must experience the effects of its actions to achieve growth and balance. It's like the universe's most thorough empathy training program. You can't truly understand what it means to be abandoned until you've felt that hollow ache in your chest at 3 a.m. You can't grasp the weight of betrayal until you've experienced that moment when trust shatters like cheap wine glasses. Every action, every thought, every emotion you've ever had creates energetic ripples that eventually circle back to find you. It's not personal. It's physics. Spiritual physics, but physics nonetheless. That cutting remark you made in 1756, it's been bouncing around the cosmic pinball machine, gathering momentum and interest, waiting for the perfect moment to teach you what words can actually do to someone's soul. Notice how certain people trigger instant reactions in you? That colleague who makes you irrationally angry before they even speak? That stranger whose eyes made you feel inexplicably safe? Your karmic history is making itself known through your nervous system. Your body remembers what your conscious mind has forgotten, storing centuries of relational data in your gut reactions and inexplicable attractions. The really wild part is how your soul strategically chooses situations that mirror what you've dished out before. Souls who've been controlling often incarnate into families where they experience being controlled. Those who've abandoned others find themselves repeatedly abandoned until they understand the particular flavour of devastation they once served up so casually. But let's flip this script for a moment. because karma isn't just a cosmic collection agency. It's also your spiritual savings account. Every genuine act of kindness, every moment of real compassion, every time you chose growth over comfort, all of that creates positive karmic momentum that opens doors in future lifetimes. That random stranger who helped you when you were broken down on the highway. That teacher who saw potential in you when you couldn't see it yourself. That friend who held space for your messiness without trying to fix you. These aren't accidents. They're karmic dividends paying out from investments you made in previous lifetimes when you chose to be someone's unexpected angel. The mechanism is elegantly simple. Like attracts like, but across multiple incarnations. The energy signature you emit through your choices creates a magnetic field that draws similar experiences back to you. Be cruel, and cruelty finds you with the persistence of a GPS navigation system. Be genuinely kind, and kindness shows up in the most unexpected places, often when you need it most. Here's where most people get karma completely wrong. They think it's about cosmic punishment or reward, like some celestial behavior modification program. But karma is actually about balance and understanding. Your soul isn't being punished for that lifetime as a corrupt merchant. It's being educated about what corruption actually costs, not just in gold, but in human suffering. The uncomfortable truth is that your current relationship patterns, your recurring life themes, your inexplicable fears and attractions, they're all breadcrumbs leading back to unfinished karmic business. That pattern of attracting partners who can't commit. Your soul might be working through understanding the full impact of your own commitment issues from previous incarnations. Understanding this can completely transform how you approach your current life choices. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to either perpetuate old karmic patterns or consciously choose something different. Every moment of choosing compassion over retaliation, understanding over judgment, growth over comfort, these choices don't just change your present, they're literally rewriting your spiritual credit report. The beautiful paradox is that once you truly grasp how karma works, you stop trying to game the system and start genuinely caring about the impact of your choices. Because you finally understand that every person you encounter is both teacher and student, creditor and debtor, mirror and mystery in this elaborate cosmic curriculum we call existence. Your karmic credit score isn't fixed. Every conscious choice you make right now is either adding to your spiritual debt or building the kind of positive karma that creates miracles. You know that friend who immediately gets you, even when you're being completely unreasonable, the one who can finish your sentences, predict your terrible decisions, and still shows up with ice cream when your life implodes. Congratulations, you've found your cosmic travel buddy. Welcome to the wonderfully chaotic world of soul groups, where eternity apparently operates like the world's most persistent group chat. Picture this. Before you incarnated into this delightful mess of existence, you were part of a spiritual committee. Not the boring kind that argues about office coffee brands, but an actual cosmic planning session where souls huddle together like friends organising the ultimate road trip. Except this road trip spans multiple lifetimes, and everyone takes turns being the designated driver, the one who forgets to bring snacks, and the person who insists on taking scenic routes through maximum emotional growth. Soul groups are essentially clusters of closely connected souls who've decided, perhaps in a moment of spiritual overconfidence, to evolve together across numerous lifetimes. Think of them as your eternal travelling circus of cosmic companions, except instead of juggling flaming torches, you're juggling karma, life lessons, and the occasional existential crisis. Here's where it gets deliciously twisted. These souls don't always show up in the roles you'd expect. That co-worker who knows exactly which buttons to push to send you into orbit? There's a decent chance they were your best friend in a past life. They've had centuries to study your psychological blueprint, which explains their supernatural ability to trigger your deepest insecurities during Monday morning meetings. It's not personal, it's professional development on a cosmic scale. Your soul group operates with the efficiency of a well-rehearsed improv troupe. They'll appear as family members who challenge every belief you hold dear, friends who mirror your own patterns back to you with uncomfortable accuracy, mentors who arrive precisely when you need guidance, and yes, even adversaries who force you to discover strength you didn't know you possessed. It's like being in a really long-running theatre production where everyone keeps switching roles, but the underlying story remains the same: growth through relationship. The recognition factor is unmistakable once you know what to look for. Notice how some people feel immediately familiar, like coming home after a long trip to a place you'd forgotten you loved. There's an ease in the conversation, a shorthand in communication that bypasses the usual social protocols. You might find yourself sharing deeper truths with someone you've known for 20 minutes than with acquaintances you've had for 20 years. But here's the beautiful complexity. Soul group relationships aren't always comfortable. In fact, the most growth often comes from the connections that challenge us most intensely. Your most difficult family member might be your closest soul companion, volunteering for the thankless job of being your spiritual sandpaper this lifetime. They signed up to smooth your rough edges through the ancient art of driving you absolutely insane until you learn patience, boundaries, or the fine art of unconditional love. Within these soul groups exist deeper connections, your soulmates and twin flames that we explored earlier. But even beyond those intense bonds, every member of your soul group serves a purpose in your evolutionary journey. Some are here to teach specific lessons, others to provide support during challenging phases, and a few brave souls volunteer for the really difficult assignments. Being the person who breaks your heart so thoroughly that you finally learn to love yourself, or the friend whose betrayal forces you to develop discernment. The cosmic joke is that we often judge these relationships based on whether they feel good, when the real question is whether they're helping us grow. Your soul group didn't incarnate together to create a spiritual comfort zone. They came to create a spiritual gymnasium where everyone takes turns being the trainer, the equipment, and occasionally the person crying in the corner after an intense workout. Understanding soul groups can completely transform how you view your relationships. That family member who consistently pushes your boundaries, they might be your most dedicated teacher, showing up lifetime after lifetime to help you learn self-advocacy. The friend who always seems to need rescuing. Perhaps they're providing you opportunities to practice healthy boundaries versus codependency. Even that ex who seemed designed in a laboratory to trigger all your insecurities. They might have been your volunteer professor in the advanced course of self-worth. The recognition goes beyond just feeling familiar. Soul group members often share similar life patterns, show up during significant transitions, or have an uncanny ability to appear exactly when you need them most. They're the people who call right when you're thinking about them, who recommend the book you desperately needed to read, who offer opportunities that align perfectly with your growth trajectory. But perhaps the most profound aspect of soul groups is this. They remind us that we're never truly alone in our spiritual journey. Even when physical distance or death separates you from these cosmic companions, the connection remains. That deep knowing that someone truly sees and understands you isn't just romantic fantasy, it's spiritual reality. You've been travelling together for eons, learning and growing and occasionally getting spectacularly lost together. The practical implications are staggering. When you recognise your soul group connections, relationships become less about getting your needs met and more about mutual evolution. Conflicts transform from personal attacks into collaborative problem-solving sessions. Even the ending of relationships takes on new meaning when you understand that souls sometimes separate to pursue different lessons, with the deep knowing that you'll reconnect when the timing serves your highest growth. Your soul group is your eternal support system, your cosmic accountability partners, and your spiritual family all rolled into one beautifully chaotic package. They're the souls who've seen you at your worst across multiple lifetimes, and keep showing up anyway, because they understand that evolution is messy business, and nobody should have to figure out enlightenment alone. Imagine having to design your entire life from scratch, knowing that every choice will either accelerate or complicate your spiritual growth. Welcome to what happens between lives, the cosmic equivalent of the world's most consequential character creation screen, except you can't reload your save file if things go sideways. Your soul, fresh from its life review, and armed with insights from your eternal travelling circus of companions, now faces the ultimate design challenge. It's like being handed the keys to existence and told, go wild, but remember, you have to live with every decision for the next 70-odd years. No pressure whatsoever. The process begins with what spiritual traditions describe as the incarnation blueprint, essentially your soul's master plan for maximum growth through strategic suffering. And before you start judging your pre-birth self too harshly, remember that souls apparently operate on the principle that comfort zones are where growth goes to die. Your soul looked at the cosmic catalogue of human experiences and thought, You know what would really challenge me? Let's add some genetic predispositions and see how that plays out. First comes the grand question of gender and physical form. Your soul considers not just personal preference, but karmic balancing, cultural learning objectives, and sometimes what can only be described as cosmic curiosity. Wonder what it's like to navigate the world in this particular body, thinks your soul, apparently forgetting that you'll be the one dealing with the practical implications of these choices while trying to parallel park. The selection of physical traits goes far beyond vanity, though your soul might have opinions about cheekbones. Each characteristic serves multiple purposes: karmic balancing from past lives, specific challenges for growth, and sometimes prerequisites for particular life lessons. That persistent back problem could be your soul ensuring you learn patience and body awareness. Those unusually expressive eyebrows. Maybe your soul figured you'd need extra help communicating in this lifetime. Health challenges represent some of the most profound pre-birth planning. Souls often choose physical limitations not as punishment, but as accelerated learning opportunities. It's like signing up for the advanced spiritual curriculum, more challenging, but potentially more transformative. Your soul might select a chronic condition, knowing it will cultivate compassion, resilience, or force you to develop inner resources you'd otherwise ignore. Then comes family selection, arguably the most complex part of the entire process. Your soul reviews potential family systems like a cosmic real estate agent, except instead of location and square footage, the criteria involve maximum opportunities for healing ancestral patterns and learning unconditional love through impossible relatives. This family has 3 generations of unresolved trauma and communication issues, observes your soul. Perfect. I'll take it. The family you choose often includes other souls from your group, playing specific roles in your development. That sibling who pushed every button you had. Probably a soul friend who volunteered for the thankless job of helping you learn boundaries. Your parents, with their particular blend of gifts and limitations, were selected to provide exactly the right combination of support and challenge for your soul's curriculum. Socioeconomic circumstances get chosen with similar strategic precision. Wealth, poverty, or middle-class comfort each brings distinct lessons and opportunities. Your soul might choose financial struggle to learn resourcefulness and compassion for others' hardships, or select privilege to learn responsibility and service. Sometimes souls choose dramatic shifts in economic status within one lifetime, creating opportunities to experience multiple perspectives on human survival and success. Cultural and geographical settings add another layer of complexity. Your soul considers which cultural values, challenges, and worldviews will best serve your growth. Being born into a particular religious tradition, ethnic background, or national context provides specific lenses through which to experience human existence. That inexplicable fascination with a culture you weren't born into? Might be your soul remembering the extensive research it did during the planning phase. Historical timing matters tremendously. Souls choose not just where to incarnate, but when. Your soul selected this particular era, with its unique blend of technological acceleration, environmental challenges, and social transformation, as the optimal backdrop for its learning objectives. It looked at the 21st century and thought, yes, this perfect storm of global connectivity and existential uncertainty is exactly what I need for my development. The planning extends to significant relationships and encounters. Major meetings, your future spouse, best friend, mentor, or even that person who cuts you off in traffic and teaches you about road rage management, are often pre-arranged. It's like the ultimate social calendar, planned before you even have a social security number. Your soul coordinates with other souls to create meaningful intersections, though free will means the actual outcomes remain flexible. Career paths and life purposes get mapped out in broad strokes. Your soul might plan to be drawn toward healing professions, creative expression, or service roles that align with its learning objectives, those seemingly random interests that captivated you as a child. Probably breadcrumbs your soul left for your conscious self to follow toward your intended path. Even traumatic experiences can be pre-planned, though this remains one of the most controversial aspects of pre-birth planning. The idea isn't that souls choose suffering for its own sake, but that they sometimes select challenging experiences as the most direct path towards specific growth or karmic resolution. It's like spiritual boot camp, intense, transformative, and something you'd probably never volunteer for if you fully understood what you were signing up for. That persistent dream about a place you've never been could be a memory leak from your planning session, those instant connections with strangers, or immediate aversions to certain people or situations. Might be your subconscious recognizing elements from your pre-birth blueprint. The entire process operates on multiple levels simultaneously: personal healing, karmic balancing, soul group dynamics, and service to the collective human experience. Your individual incarnation contributes to larger patterns of global awakening and evolution. Your soul doesn't just plan for personal growth, it considers how your life will ripple outward to affect others and contribute to humanity's overall development. Free will remains paramount throughout this cosmic planning session. Your soul creates a framework, not a predetermined fate. The major themes, relationships, and opportunities are arranged, but how you respond to them remains entirely up to your conscious choices during the lifetime. It's like having a detailed itinerary for a trip, but still being free to take detours, skip planned activities, or discover unexpected adventures along the way. Understanding this incarnation design process transforms how you view your current life circumstances. Every challenge becomes a curriculum you helped design. Every relationship carries potential lessons you specifically requested. Every limitation might be a growth opportunity you courageously chose. Your life isn't happening to you. It's unfolding according to a blueprint you participated in creating, customized specifically for your soul's evolution. Your soul spent eons planning this life, then promptly gave itself spiritual amnesia the moment you were born. I mean, seriously, what kind of cosmic design flaw is that? It's like spending months planning the perfect vacation, researching every restaurant and hidden gem, then showing up at the airport with no memory of where you're supposed to go, clutching a boarding pass written in Sanskrit. But here's where it gets really twisted. This wasn't an accident. This forgetting, what spiritual traditions call the veil, was intentional. Your soul, in all its infinite wisdom, decided that complete memory loss was essential to the whole experience. Imagine being the project manager who signs off on that decision. Yes, let's definitely wipe their hard drive clean right before the most important test of their existence. What could go wrong? The veil sits between the spiritual and physical realms like the world's most effective bouncer, ensuring that when you cross from one dimension to the other, you leave your cosmic credentials at the door. All those careful pre-birth planning sessions with your soul group? Gone. The detailed conversations with your guides about your life purpose? Vanished. That crystal clear understanding of why you chose your particular family dynamics? Completely erased, leaving you to figure out why your mother triggers you during every holiday dinner. This spiritual amnesia serves a purpose that's both brilliant and maddening. Without memory of your pre-birth plans, you can't just phone it in. You can't sleepwalk through your lessons thinking, oh right, this is where I learn patience, then check out mentally while going through the motions. Instead, you have to genuinely experience every emotion, every challenge, every breakthrough. The forgetting forces authenticity in a way that remembering never could. Think about it. If you knew your current romantic partner was your soulmate destined to teach you about unconditional love, would you still feel that flutter of genuine surprise when they do something unexpectedly thoughtful? If you remembered choosing your career challenges as opportunities for growth, would you still experience the real frustration that ultimately pushes you to evolve? The veil ensures that when you feel joy, confusion, heartbreak, or triumph, these emotions are completely real, not performed for an audience of one who already knows the script. It's like the difference between watching a movie you've seen 50 times and experiencing it for the first time. Sure, knowing the plot might make you feel more prepared, but it also robs you of that visceral reaction when the twist happens. Your soul wanted the full emotional range of human experience, not the detached observation of someone who's read all the spoilers. But the veil isn't completely opaque. Your soul, being cleverer than your conscious mind gives it credit for, left breadcrumbs. These show up as instincts that seem to come from nowhere. That immediate knowing that someone is trustworthy or dangerous before you have any logical reason to think so. They manifest as recurring dreams that feel more real than your waking life, filled with places you've never been but somehow recognize. They appear as those inexplicable pulls towards certain locations, careers, or people that make no rational sense but feel absolutely essential. That friend who felt like family from the moment you met. That's your soul's GPS trying to get your attention, pointing toward a connection that predates your current bodies. The way certain music makes you cry for reasons you can't explain. Your soul remembering frequencies from other lifetimes, other experiences of beauty and loss. That persistent urge to move to a city you've never visited, or learn a skill that seems completely random given your background. These aren't whims. They're whispers from your pre-birth planning committee, trying to nudge you back toward your intended path. The cruelest part of this cosmic joke is how the forgetting makes you feel like you're wandering through life without a map, when actually you're being guided constantly. Your spiritual support team, those guides you chose so carefully before incarnating, are still there, still supporting you. They just have to work within the constraints of the veil, communicating through synchronicities, gut feelings, and those moments when the perfect book falls off a shelf at exactly the right time. Sometimes this guidance feels like trying to navigate using smoke signals in a windstorm. You catch glimpses of direction, fleeting moments of clarity where everything seems to align. Then the veil reasserts itself and you're back to feeling like you're making it all up. The frustration is real, and it's supposed to be. That tension between knowing and not knowing, between feeling guided and feeling lost, creates the exact conditions your soul needs to grow. The educational value of not knowing the answers in advance cannot be overstated. Remember cramming for tests in school? You could memorize facts, but real understanding only came through wrestling with concepts until something clicked. Your soul chose the ultimate open book exam where the book is written in invisible ink, and you have to discover the answers through lived experience rather than rote memorization. This is why meditation, journaling, or quiet reflection can feel like tuning into a radio station that's almost but not quite coming in clearly. You're trying to receive signals through the veil, picking up fragments of your soul's original broadcast. That sudden knowing about which direction to take your career. That's not random inspiration. It's your pre-birth planning breaking through the static. The veil also explains why spiritual awakening often feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something you'd forgotten. Because that's exactly what it is. Those moments of profound recognition when reading spiritual texts or hearing certain teachings aren't coincidences. They're your soul saying, yes, finally, someone's speaking my language again. Even recognizing these patterns requires a kind of faith that feels almost absurd. You're essentially trusting that your deepest instincts know better than your rational mind, that the part of you that chose cosmic amnesia also left enough clues to find your way home. It's like playing the world's most elaborate treasure hunt where you hid the clues from yourself, then have to trust that your past self was wise enough to make them findable. The forgetting serves your soul's highest good, even when it feels like cruel and unusual punishment. Every moment of confusion, every time you feel lost or disconnected from purpose, every instance of wondering why you chose this particular obstacle course, these experiences are expanding your capacity for compassion, resilience, and ultimately remembrance. You're not broken or doing it wrong. You're exactly where your soul intended you to be, learning exactly what you came here to learn, even if the lesson plan is written in disappearing ink. Death, it turns out, comes with the most comprehensive exit interview you'll ever experience. And unlike your last job where HR asked 3 perfunctory questions about growth opportunities, this one covers literally everything you've ever done, thought, or felt. Every single thing. Picture this. You've just crossed over from that elaborate incarnation design process you so carefully planned, only to discover that cosmic amnesia was apparently a feature, not a bug. Now you're standing, well, existing, since standing implies having feet, in what can only be described as the universe's most thorough customer feedback session. The beings of pure love and wisdom surrounding you aren't holding clipboards, but somehow you get the distinct impression they've been taking very detailed notes. So, they seem to communicate without words, radiating the kind of patient understanding that would make your therapist weep with envy. How did that incarnation work out for you? And then it begins. The life review. Imagine having to watch every moment of your existence, including that mortifying thing you did in 7th grade when you thought nobody was looking, while surrounded by entities who embody unconditional love. It's like being forced to watch home movies of yourself, except the beings holding the cosmic remote control have perfect recall and infinite compassion, which somehow makes it both better and infinitely more uncomfortable. The review starts rolling, and suddenly you're experiencing your life from a perspective that makes IMAX look like a flipbook. But here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean existentially overwhelming. You're not just watching your own experience. You're feeling everything from every perspective simultaneously. That time you cut someone off in traffic? Congratulations, you now get to experience the full emotional impact from the other driver's point of view, complete with their stress about being late to their mother's doctor's appointment. Picture the moment when you suddenly understand every relationship from all angles at once. That argument with your sister about who ate the last piece of cake when you were 8. You're now experiencing your righteous indignation, her genuine confusion, your mother's exhaustion at mediating yet another sibling dispute, and even the dog's mild interest in whether anyone was going to drop crumbs. It's like emotional surround sound, except the speakers are made of pure consciousness and the volume goes up to 11. The beings facilitating this cosmic TED Talk aren't there to judge, though your ego keeps waiting for the other shoe to drop, metaphysically speaking. They're more like the world's most patient teachers, helping you understand the ripple effects of your choices with the kind of thoroughness that would make a physics professor jealous. Every action, every thought, every moment of kindness or cruelty gets examined not through the lens of right and wrong, but through the broader perspective of spiritual physics. What did this teach you, and what did it teach everyone else involved? You relive that time you helped a stranger change their tire, and suddenly you can feel how that single act of kindness created a chain reaction of generosity that touched dozens of lives. But you also experience that moment when you pretended not to see someone who clearly needed help, and you feel the weight of that missed opportunity rippling through the cosmic web of connection. It's not punishment, it's education. The universe's most comprehensive continuing education program, where the syllabus is your entire existence. The really wild part is how detached you become from your former identity during this process. That person who is so worried about their reputation, their bank account, their perfectly curated social media presence. They feel like a character you once played very convincingly. You're watching their story with the kind of benevolent interest you might have for a particularly complex protagonist in a novel, invested in their journey, but not devastated by their mistakes. This detachment isn't cold or dismissive. It's more like finally having enough distance to see the whole painting, instead of standing with your nose pressed against one corner of the canvas. You can appreciate the artistry of your soul's choices, even the ones that felt like disasters at the time. That relationship that ended so badly it left you eating ice cream for breakfast. From this perspective, you can see how it taught you both crucial lessons about boundaries and self-worth. That job you got fired from, apparently it was redirecting you towards something that aligned better with your soul's curriculum. The beings of light don't need to tell you what you did wrong. You can feel it in your expanded awareness. But more importantly, you can feel what you did right, including things you never even realized had impact. That smile you gave the grocery store cashier on their worst day. That moment when you chose patience over anger in heavy traffic. These seemingly small acts shine like beacons in the review, revealing how love multiplies in ways your human perspective couldn't perceive. As this cosmic performance evaluation continues, you begin to recognize patterns, the same lessons appearing in different costumes throughout your life, the relationships that kept showing up to teach you about forgiveness, the challenges that repeatedly invited you to choose courage over fear. It's like seeing the curriculum behind the chaos, the spiritual syllabus that was always there, hidden beneath the surface drama of human existence. This isn't about cosmic judgment, it's about cosmic understanding. The review helps your soul recognize which areas might benefit from additional study, which lessons you mastered, and which ones you might want to explore further in future incarnations. It's the universe's way of helping you become a more conscious co-creator of your spiritual education. And slowly, as this comprehensive life review concludes, you begin to understand that this entire process is ultimately about love. Love examining itself through the prism of experience. Love learning about itself through the beautiful, messy, complicated dance of incarnation. Love preparing to love even more skillfully in whatever comes next. The exit interview, it turns out, is really an entrance exam for your soul's next adventure in consciousness. Welcome to the afterlife's most intense strategic planning session, where the agenda is your entire next lifetime. Picture this. You've just finished your exit interview with Death's surprisingly thorough customer service department, and now you're sitting in what can only be described as the universe's most consequential conference room. The lighting is that perfect ethereal glow that makes everyone look wise and slightly translucent, and the coffee, well, let's just say it's transcendent in ways that would make your local barista weep with envy. Your spiritual guides are already seated around a table that seems to extend into infinity, armed with clipboards that somehow contain the mysteries of existence and the patience of therapists who have literally all the time in the universe. They're reviewing your last incarnation like it's a performance evaluation, except instead of discussing your quarterly sales figures, they're analysing how you handled betrayal, whether you learned to love yourself, and why you spent so much time arguing with strangers on the internet. So, your primary guide begins, consulting notes that shimmer with cosmic significance. Let's talk about next time. And just like that, you're thrust into the most important planning meeting of your eternal existence. It's like planning a gap year, except the gap is between dimensions and lasts an entire lifetime. And instead of backpacking through Europe, you're navigating the complexities of human consciousness while forgetting everything you currently know about how the universe actually works. The process begins with what spiritual researchers call the soul assessment phase, though it feels more like the universe's most thorough personality test. Your guides spread out your karmic report card, not the punitive cosmic debt collection version that some traditions preach, but something more nuanced. Think of karma not as a cosmic punishment system, but as the universe's way of ensuring you get exactly the experiences you need for growth, even when those experiences involve learning patience while stuck behind someone counting exact change at the grocery store. You made significant progress with compassion last time, your guide notes, but we noticed some opportunities for growth in the area of forgiveness. They say this with the diplomatic skill of someone who's watched you hold grudges that lasted decades over parking disputes. Perhaps we could design some scenarios that would give you practice with letting go. This is where the collaborative magic happens. You're not just a passive recipient of cosmic assignments, you're an active participant in designing your next spiritual adventure. Other souls who've agreed to play supporting roles in your next lifetime start joining the planning session. There's your future mother comparing notes about the family dynamics that will best serve everyone's growth. Your future best friend is sketching out the betrayal that will teach you both about boundaries and healing. Because apparently, even cosmic planning meetings involve awkward conversations about who's going to be the villain in whose story. The specificity of these pre-birth contracts would astound you. Two souls sitting in cosmic space, planning to meet at a coffee shop in 2024 to work through trust issues that originated in 3 previous lifetimes. They're coordinating everything, the timing, the circumstances, even the fact that one of them will be running late because they're terrible with directions in every incarnation. It's like watching the universe's most elaborate improv group plan their next performance, except the stage is Earth, and the audience is your own soul's evolution. Your guides help you choose everything from your physical characteristics to your family circumstances, but not in the shallow way you might expect. That chronic back pain you're considering. It's not cosmic punishment. It's designed to teach you about asking for help and recognizing your limitations. Those parents who never quite understood your artistic dreams, they're volunteering to play the role of loving opposition, giving you the exact resistance you need to develop your own inner authority. The beauty lies in how these choices balance challenge with support. Your soul isn't masochistic, it's strategic. Every difficult circumstance comes paired with the tools and opportunities needed to navigate it successfully. That learning disability that will make school challenging. It comes with a mind that thinks in ways that will revolutionize your chosen field. The family that struggles with emotional expression. They're also the ones who will teach you resilience and the power of finding your chosen family. Free will gets built into these contracts like escape clauses in cosmic legislation. Your soul might plan to meet your soulmate at age 35, but if you decide to become a hermit who only communicates through strongly worded letters to the editor, the universe has backup plans. Multiple backup plans. Your soulmate might end up being the postal worker who delivers those letters, or the neighbour who finally knocks on your door to ask if you're okay because your lawn has achieved sentient status. The planning session includes what researchers call soul group coordination. Essentially all the souls who've agreed to incarnate together to work on related lessons. It's like a spiritual book club, except instead of discussing literature, you're planning to work through generational trauma while pretending not to recognise each other at family gatherings. Your difficult uncle who always starts political arguments at dinner, he's actually an advanced soul who volunteered for the thankless job of being the catalyst that forces everyone else to practice patience and boundary setting. Physical traits get chosen with the same intentionality that knows you'll spend your teenage years hating. It connects you to ancestral lineages whose strength you'll need to draw upon. Those eyes that seem to see too much. They're designed to help you recognise truth in a world full of illusions, even when that recognition makes small talk at parties nearly impossible. The meeting concludes with what can only be described as the universe's most comprehensive briefing. Your guides review the major plot points of your upcoming incarnation, not to spoil the surprise, but to ensure your soul is prepared for the intensity of what you've chosen. They remind you about the veil of forgetting that will descend the moment you take your first breath, how you'll spend years thinking you're lost when you're actually following the map perfectly. As you prepare to leave this cosmic conference room, there's a moment of profound recognition. You understand that every soul chooses their next incarnation with the wisdom of eternity and the courage of someone who knows that growth requires stepping into the unknown. You're not just planning a lifetime, you're crafting a masterpiece of spiritual evolution, one carefully chosen challenge at a time. The responsibility is staggering, the wisdom profound, and somewhere in the back of your cosmic mind, you're already wondering if you've bitten off more than you can chew. But that's exactly the point. Imagine Groundhog Day, but instead of one day repeating, its entire lifetimes, and Bill Murray is your soul trying to figure out the same lesson for the 1000th time. Welcome to what I like to call the reincarnation hamster wheel, where souls get stuck running the same spiritual marathon, convinced they're making progress while essentially jogging in place through multiple centuries. Your soul apparently has the same relationship with spiritual growth that you have with going to the gym. Lots of good intentions, questionable follow-through, and a remarkable ability to convince itself that tomorrow will be different even after 47 failed attempts. The universe, meanwhile, watches with the patience of a kindergarten teacher who's explained sharing for the millionth time, knowing full well that little Timmy is going to hoard the crayons again. Here's what actually happens when a soul gets stuck in this cosmic loop. Remember that afterlife planning committee we talked about? Well, sometimes they're not planning your next grand adventure. They're essentially hitting the reset button and saying, okay, let's try this again, but this time with feeling. It's like being enrolled in the world's most elaborate remedial course, except the subject is how to be a decent human being 101, and you keep failing the final exam. The mechanics are both frustrating and oddly poetic. Every unresolved emotional pattern, every karmic debt you've been dodging like student loans, every relationship dynamic you've perfected the art of screwing up, all of this gets carefully packaged and shipped to your next incarnation like the world's worst subscription box. Congratulations, you've received another lifetime of trust issues, abandonment fears, and an inexplicable attraction to unavailable people. Take the classic case of the soul who keeps incarnating into families where they're perpetually the outsider. Lifetime after lifetime, they're the adopted child who never quite fits, the sibling who feels invisible, the spouse who's always second choice. The universe isn't being cruel, it's being educational. Each incarnation is like a slightly different version of the same math problem, presented with new variables but the same underlying equation that needs solving. The soul's learning curve in these situations would be hilarious if it weren't so painfully relatable. Picture your higher self in some cosmic classroom, frantically raising its hand. But I thought I learned about self-worth last time when I was that merchant in the 14th century Florence. And the universe, channeling every patient teacher you've ever had, responds, "Yes, dear, but you learned it intellectually. Now we need you to feel it in your bones when your mother-in-law criticises your pot roast." It's like being stuck in the world's most elaborate escape room, except the only way out is through genuine personal growth, and the clues are hidden in your most triggering relationships and recurring life patterns. The universe has this delightfully twisted sense of humour. It'll keep serving you the same lesson in increasingly creative packaging until you finally get it. Consider the soul who's been working on the learning to receive love curriculum for several centuries. In one life, they're born into wealth but emotionally distant parents. Next time around, they get loving parents but crushing poverty. Then they try a lifetime with both love and money, but add crippling social anxiety. The universe is like a persistent life coach with unlimited time and resources. We're going to keep adjusting the variables until you figure out that your worthiness isn't conditional. What determines your next family and circumstances isn't some cosmic lottery system. It's more like a very sophisticated matching algorithm. Your carried energy, those emotional patterns you've been dragging around like spiritual baggage, gets paired with the family dynamic that will either heal it or amplify it enough that you can't ignore it anymore. Your soul essentially swipes right on the parents who will trigger your stuff most efficiently. The sensory clues that you're stuck in a pattern are actually everywhere once you know what to look for. That familiar knot in your stomach when someone raises their voice, you've felt that exact sensation across lifetimes. The way you automatically shrink when entering a room full of strangers, or how you instinctively become the caretaker in every relationship. These aren't just personality quirks. They're your soul's muscle memory, playing out the same emotional choreography it's been rehearsing for decades or centuries. But here's where it gets interesting, and dare I say hopeful. The universe is constantly adjusting to support your growth, offering increasingly creative ways to learn your intended lessons. Can't learn self-compassion through success. Let's try failure, not getting the message through romantic relationships. How about we explore it through your relationship with your boss, your body, or your bank account? The frustration of recognizing these patterns can be overwhelming. There's something deeply maddening about realizing you've been having the same argument with different people for multiple lifetimes. It's like discovering you've been watching reruns of your own dysfunction, except you're both the star and the audience, and you somehow keep forgetting you've seen this episode before. Yet within this frustration lies genuine liberation. The moment you start recognizing these patterns, really seeing them with clarity rather than just intellectually acknowledging them, you begin to step off the hamster wheel. It's not about perfection or never making the same mistakes again. It's about conscious participation in your own growth rather than unconscious repetition of your own limitations. Understanding these cycles can actually accelerate your spiritual development exponentially. Instead of spending another lifetime wondering why you keep attracting the same type of dysfunctional relationship, you can start asking, what is this pattern trying to teach me, and how can I learn it more efficiently this time round? It's the difference between being a passive victim of your karma and becoming an active participant in your own evolution. The ultimate irony? The very awareness that you might be stuck in these cycles is often the key to breaking free from them. Your soul's recognition of its own patterns is like finally finding the emergency exit in that cosmic escape room. Suddenly, what seemed like an endless maze reveals itself as a solvable puzzle with a very real way out. Congratulations! You've discovered that reincarnation is basically a cosmic subscription service, and you're ready to cancel your membership. The good news? It's actually possible. The bad news? The cancellation process makes dealing with your cable company look like a spa day. Liberation from the reincarnation cycle isn't about escaping life or giving up on existence. It's about transcending the illusions that keep us trapped in repetitive patterns. Think of it as the ultimate graduation ceremony, except instead of throwing your cap in the air, you're throwing off the need to keep coming back to Earth University for remedial courses in how not to be attached to drama. Enlightenment, it turns out, is less like flipping a switch, and more like slowly untangling Christmas lights while blindfolded, in a windstorm, with your in-laws giving unhelpful advice from the sidelines. The process requires 3 fundamental shifts that would make even the most dedicated spiritual seeker want to hide under a blanket fort. First, there's releasing attachments, and no, this doesn't mean becoming an emotionless robot who orders the same salad every day. It's about loving deeply while not needing specific outcomes to be happy. Imagine caring about your favourite sports team but not having your entire week ruined when they lose. Revolutionary concept, right? The soul learns to engage fully with life while holding everything lightly, like cupping water in your hands instead of trying to grip it with your fists. The second requirement is resolving karma, which sounds mystical until you realize it's essentially cosmic bookkeeping. Every unresolved conflict, every hurt you've caused or received, every time you've chosen fear over love, it all needs to be balanced. This isn't about punishment, it's about understanding. The soul must recognize its patterns, which is about as comfortable as watching home videos of your teenage years, except these home videos span multiple lifetimes, and include that regrettable incarnation where you were definitely not winning any humanitarian awards. Self-awareness becomes the foundation of this entire process. You start noticing how you react to triggers, how certain situations bring up the same emotional responses lifetime after lifetime. Maybe you've always struggled with authority figures because 3 incarnations ago you were a rebel leader who got executed by a tyrannical king. Or perhaps your fear of abandonment stems from that lifetime where you were left at a monastery as a child. The patterns become visible, and once you see them, you can't unsee them, which is both liberating and exhausting. The inner work required for liberation makes therapy look like a casual chat over coffee. We're talking about forgiving not just the people who hurt you in this lifetime, but potentially forgiving the Roman soldier who ran you through with a sword in 73 AD. Healing wounds from past lives means diving into emotional archaeology, excavating layers of pain and trauma that your soul has been carrying like spiritual luggage through customs. Forgiveness at this level isn't about being nice or spiritual. It's about recognizing that holding on to resentment across multiple lifetimes is like taking poison and expecting your enemies to die. Eventually you realize that the person who wronged you centuries ago was probably just as confused and scared as you were, operating from their own unhealed wounds. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it frees you from carrying their karma as your own burden. The third requirement, aligning with universal truths, sounds profound until you try to actually do it. Universal truths aren't complicated. Love is stronger than fear. We're all connected. What we put out comes back to us. Simple concepts that are about as easy to embody as juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Your ego fights this alignment every step of the way, insisting that you're separate, special, and definitely the victim in most situations. Raising your vibrational frequency becomes a full-time job. This means choosing love over fear in increasingly subtle situations. It's easy to be loving when someone brings you coffee in bed. It's considerably harder when they cut you off in traffic, or leave passive-aggressive notes about the dishes. Higher vibration means responding to every situation from your higher self, which is exhausting until it becomes natural. The ultimate realization is oneness, understanding that you, your annoying neighbour, that politician you can't stand, and even your ex-mother-in-law from 3 lifetimes ago are all expressions of the same universal consciousness. Your ego greets this realization about as enthusiastically as a cat greets bath time. "What do you mean we're all one?" it protests. "I worked very hard to establish my individual identity, complete with preferences, opinions, and a carefully curated social media presence." Signs that a soul is nearing liberation include an increasing sense of peace regardless of external circumstances, spontaneous moments of unconditional love for all beings, yes, even that person, and a growing awareness that the drama of individual existence is like getting deeply invested in a soap opera, entertaining, but ultimately not real. The most profound aspect of liberation is the choice it offers. Freed souls aren't automatically whisked away to some cosmic retirement home. They can choose ascension, merging completely with universal consciousness. Or they can return as enlightened guides, bodhisattvas who come back not because they need to learn, but because they choose to help others find their way out of the maze. These liberated beings incarnate with full awareness of their mission, maintaining their connection to universal wisdom while navigating human experience. They're the teachers, healers, and way showers who appear when humanity needs them most, offering light in the darkness not because they're trapped in the learning cycle, but because love compels them to serve. The beautiful irony? Once you're truly free to leave the reincarnation game, many souls discover they actually want to stay and help others win their freedom too. Liberation isn't about escaping, it's about choosing consciously, whether that choice is transcendence or service. Here's the thing that'll completely blow your mind about the cosmic education system. Some souls graduate from the reincarnation school, get their cosmic diploma, and then voluntarily come back as substitute teachers. I know, right? Just when you thought you understood how this whole spiritual thing works, the universe throws you this curveball that makes absolutely no sense from a self-preservation standpoint. Picture this. You finally escaped the cosmic hamster wheel. You're free. No more karmic debt, no more lessons to learn, no more awkward family dynamics to work through across multiple lifetimes. You've achieved what every soul dreams of, complete liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and that uncomfortable middle part where you have to figure out what you're supposed to be doing with your life. And then what do? You voluntarily climb back on because other hamsters need help. This is essentially the story of every bodhisattva, avatar, and enlightened master who's ever graced this planet. These beings have what we might call the ultimate case of spiritual FOMO, except instead of fear of missing out, they have an overwhelming compulsion to help out. They've reached the cosmic equivalent of tenure, and instead of kicking back in some celestial faculty lounge, they're choosing to work overtime in the most challenging spiritual emergency room imaginable. Take Buddha, for instance. Here's a guy who figured out the whole enlightenment thing, achieved nirvana, and could have just stayed there forever, in perfect bliss. But according to Buddhist tradition, he looked around at all the suffering in the world and basically said, well, this is awkward. I can't just leave everyone else figuring this out the hard way. So he spent the next 45 years teaching, knowing full well that most people would either misunderstand him completely or turn his insights into another reason to argue with their neighbours. Jesus represents another fascinating case study in voluntary cosmic overtime. Whether you approach his story from a religious or purely spiritual perspective, the narrative remains remarkably consistent. An enlightened being choosing incarnation specifically to serve as a bridge between human suffering and divine love. He could have stayed in whatever heavenly realm enlightened beings hang out in, but instead chose to be born in a stable, grow up in a politically volatile region, and spend 3 years trying to explain complex spiritual truths to people who kept asking him to turn water into wine at parties. It's like finishing medical school, then choosing to work in the most challenging emergency room because that's where you're needed most. Except the emergency room is planet Earth, and the patients keep insisting they're not actually sick, while simultaneously complaining about all their symptoms. The Hermetic tradition teaches us something profound about these enlightened volunteers. They serve as living proof that liberation is possible. When you encounter genuine wisdom, love, or spiritual power in human form, you're witnessing something extraordinary. A being who has transcended the need for physical existence, but chose it anyway as an act of service. They're like spiritual translators, taking the incomprehensible language of cosmic consciousness and rendering it in terms that incarnated souls can actually work with. This is where things get really interesting for those of us still navigating the reincarnation cycle. These enlightened teachers aren't just showing off their spiritual achievements, they're providing a roadmap. Every authentic spiritual master who has walked this earth has essentially left breadcrumbs for the rest of us to follow. They've tested the path, worked out the kinks, and then spent their incarnations trying to share the GPS coordinates for enlightenment. But here's what makes their sacrifice even more remarkable. They're not just dealing with the regular challenges of human existence, they're taking on the collective spiritual confusion of their entire era. Imagine being completely awake in a world of sleepwalkers, trying to gently nudge people toward consciousness without triggering their defense mechanisms. It's like being the designated driver at a cosmic frat party. You're sober, you can see clearly, and everyone else thinks you're being way too serious about the whole situation. You can actually learn to recognize these beings in your own life. There's something unmistakable about authentic spiritual presence. It's not flashy or attention-seeking, but it has a quality of groundedness that's almost gravitational. When you encounter genuine wisdom, whether in a teacher, a book, or even a chance conversation with a stranger, you feel it in your body. There's a settling, a recognition, like your soul is saying, oh yes, this is what I've been looking for. The practical implications of understanding this cosmic volunteer program are profound. First, it means that help is always available on the spiritual journey. These enlightened beings incarnate in every generation, in every culture, specifically to provide guidance for souls who are ready to receive it. Second, it demonstrates that liberation isn't just possible, it's so achievable that some beings are willing to postpone their eternal vacation to help others reach it. Most importantly, recognizing these cosmic volunteers can fundamentally shift how you approach your own spiritual development. Instead of seeing enlightenment as some impossible goal reserved for special people, you start to understand it as the natural culmination of the soul's journey. So natural, in fact, that those who achieve it often choose to stick around and help others do the same. The next time you encounter genuine wisdom, compassion, or spiritual insight, remember, you might be in the presence of someone who chose to be here, specifically to help you remember who you really are. Your soul has been cramming for the ultimate final exam, and the signs that you're ready to graduate are starting to show up in the most unexpected ways. It's like suddenly realizing you've been speaking fluent French after years of thinking you were just mumbling incoherently at your Duolingo owl. The first sign hits you during what should be a perfectly normal Tuesday meltdown about your quarterly performance review. You're sitting there, watching your mind spiral about metrics and synergy, and whatever fresh hell corporate has invented this week when something shifts. Instead of the usual internal apocalypse, you find yourself observing, like you're watching a nature documentary about stressed primates. Here we see the modern human in its natural habitat catastrophizing about spreadsheets. This is what spiritual teachers call diminished attachment to material success or failure, though they rarely mention how disorienting it is when your entire identity was built around caring way too much about everything. You know you're making progress when your biggest concern shifts from, why doesn't my coworker like me, to how can I serve the evolution of consciousness? It's jarring, like switching from reality TV to PBS documentaries. Suddenly everything else feels weirdly shallow. The second sign sneaks up on you during what should be a completely reasonable anxiety attack about global warming, political chaos, and the fact that your neighbour's dog has been staring at you with what appears to be existential judgment. But instead of the familiar cocktail of dread and helplessness, you feel this strange steadiness. Not the fake kind you get from self-help mantras, but something deeper, like you found your sea legs on a ship you didn't even know you were sailing. This is profound inner peace regardless of external circumstances, and it's absolutely maddening to your ego, which has spent decades perfecting its disaster preparedness protocols. Your mind keeps checking its equipment. Shouldn't we be panicking about something? What about the economy? Climate change? The fact that we still don't understand cryptocurrency? But there you are, inexplicably calm, like you've been let in on some cosmic joke that makes all the drama suddenly seem optional. Notice how drama that once consumed you now feels like watching a soap opera. Interesting, but not personally devastating. Your sister's relationship crisis, your friend's career meltdown, even your own supposedly earth-shattering problems start feeling like plot lines you can observe with compassion rather than getting swept away in the emotional tsunami. It's not that you care less. Paradoxically, you care more effectively. The third sign shows up in the grocery store when some guy cuts in front of you with a cart full of energy drinks and what appears to be ingredients for either a party or a nervous breakdown. Your first impulse isn't righteous indignation or passive-aggressive cart positioning. Instead, you find yourself genuinely curious about what's going on in his world that made this small transgression feel necessary. Maybe he's having the worst day of his life. Maybe he didn't even see you. Maybe he's just learned something terrible or wonderful or confusing. This is unwavering love and compassion for all beings, and it's simultaneously the most natural and most radical thing you've ever experienced. It's not the greeting card version of love. It's more like recognizing that every person you encounter is fighting battles you can't see, carrying stories you'll never know, trying to figure out this whole being human thing just like you are. Your capacity for service starts shifting too. Instead of helping others because it makes you feel good about yourself, though, let's be honest, that was never entirely altruistic anyway, you find yourself drawn to serve simply because that's what love does. It serves. Not for points or recognition or even gratitude, but because the artificial boundaries between self and other are starting to feel like optical illusions. You might catch yourself picking up litter that isn't yours, listening to people without mentally preparing your response, or feeling genuinely excited about others' success, without that tiny voice calculating how it affects your own position. It's like discovering you've been playing a competitive sport that was actually always meant to be collaborative. The fourth sign is perhaps the strangest. A growing longing to return to something you can't quite name but somehow remember. It's not homesickness for any place you've lived, but for a state of being that feels both utterly foreign and completely familiar. Like remembering a song you've never heard but somehow know all the words to. This longing to return to the divine source isn't necessarily religious. It's more like a deep cellular recognition that this whole Earth School experience, as wild and meaningful as it's been, is temporary. Like being at the most incredible summer camp of your life, while simultaneously knowing that eventually you'll go home. And for the first time, home doesn't feel like a place, but like a state of being you're beginning to remember. These signs manifest differently for everyone. Some people become monks, others become better accountants, some retreat from the world, Others engage more fully than ever before. The external expression varies wildly, but the internal shift, that growing sense of freedom from the stories that once defined you, that's universal. The beautiful paradox is that as you become less attached to your personal drama, you become more capable of genuine love and effective action. It's like finally learning to swim well enough that you can actually help other people in the water, instead of just frantically trying not to drown yourself. Every soul has the potential for this graduation, this liberation from the endless cycle of spiritual homework assignments. The journey might take lifetimes, or it might happen in a single moment of recognition. But it's happening. You're already on your way home, even when it feels like you're still completely lost in the cosmic wilderness. Here you are, lying in bed at whatever ungodly hour, having just learned that your entire existence is part of an elaborate spiritual curriculum designed by your own soul, and somehow this is supposed to be comforting. It's like discovering you've been enrolled in the universe's most challenging graduate program without your conscious consent, complete with pop quizzes disguised as traffic jams and final exams that look suspiciously like your family reunions. Your soul basically signed up for the universe's most challenging obstacle course, forgot it did so, and is now trying to figure out why everything feels so difficult. Picture this. Somewhere in the cosmic waiting room between lives, your soul was probably sitting there like an overconfident college freshman, looking at Earth's curriculum and thinking, abandonment issues and commitment phobia in the same lifetime. Hold my celestial beer. But here's where it gets beautifully, absurdly perfect. Every single person who's ever driven you to the edge of sanity, your micromanaging boss, that ex who ghosted you after 3 months, your mother-in-law who passive-aggressively rearranges your kitchen, they're all just souls keeping their end of ancient bargains. Feel that shift happening as you realize that every frustrating person in your life might just be a soul keeping their end of an ancient bargain, showing up with Oscar-worthy performances to help you learn whatever lesson you apparently thought you needed. It's simultaneously the most infuriating and liberating realization possible. That co-worker who takes credit for your ideas, they might be your soul's oldest friend, drawing the short straw to play the villain in this lifetime's production of Learning Professional Boundaries the musical. Your commitment-phobic partner who finally taught you to value yourself could be the same soul who was your devoted spouse in 3 previous lifetimes, now loving you enough to be the bad guy so you can discover your own worth. The cosmic comedy deepens when you realize we're all walking around completely oblivious to the fact that we're starring in each other's spiritual education programs. Every grocery store interaction, every awkward elevator ride, every moment when someone cuts you off in traffic, we're all just souls in elaborate costumes playing our parts in this massive, interconnected improv show called human existence. And the punchline? The thing that makes this whole setup either brilliant or completely insane. We had to forget the script to make it work. Imagine trying to learn genuine compassion while knowing the person being cruel to you is actually your soul buddy from the other side, just doing you a favour. The whole system only functions because we're genuinely surprised by each plot twist, authentically hurt by each betrayal, truly confused by each challenge. This knowledge transforms everything and nothing simultaneously. Your morning commute doesn't become a Zen garden overnight, but maybe you start seeing that road rage incident as your soul getting a pop quiz in patience, rather than proof that humanity is doomed. Your difficult relationships don't magically resolve, but perhaps you begin approaching them with the curiosity of someone trying to figure out what spiritual lesson is hiding inside the drama. The practical application of this cosmic perspective isn't about becoming some enlightened being who floats through life untouched by human messiness. It's about developing what I like to call spiritual peripheral vision, the ability to see both the immediate human experience and the deeper soul curriculum happening simultaneously. You can be genuinely frustrated with your teenager's attitude while also appreciating that they're probably a master teacher in disguise, helping you learn unconditional love through the ancient art of eye-rolling and door-slamming. Living with this awareness means holding 2 truths at once, taking life seriously enough to grow from it, but not so seriously that you miss the cosmic humour underlying it all. Yes, your heartbreak matters. Yes, your struggles are real. And yes, there's also something hilariously perfect about the fact that your soul apparently thought the best way to learn self-love was to incarnate with your particular family dynamics and dating history. The balance comes in treating yourself and others with the gentle amusement you might reserve for actors who've gotten so deep into their roles they've forgotten they're performing. We're all method actors in the universe's most elaborate production, so committed to our characters that we've temporarily lost sight of our true identities as eternal interconnected souls. Feel your breath settling as you consider this possibility. What if every challenge you've faced has been perfectly calibrated for your soul's growth? Not in some victim-blaming way, but in the sense that somewhere beyond the veil of forgetting, you participated in designing a life curriculum that would give you exactly the experiences needed for your evolution. The difficulties weren't punishments or random cruelties, they were advanced courses in becoming more fully yourself. This perspective doesn't minimize pain or excuse harmful behavior. Instead, it offers a framework for finding meaning in the mess, for discovering purpose in the chaos. It suggests that your capacity to transform suffering into wisdom, wounds into compassion, and confusion into clarity isn't just admirable, it's the entire point. We're all enrolled in the same cosmic comedy club, taking turns being each other's straight men and comic relief, setting up punchlines and delivering them with perfect timing. The ultimate joke might be that the very thing we've been seeking, love, peace, understanding, connection, has been available all along, hidden in plain sight within every interaction, every challenge, every moment of this beautifully ridiculous human experience. So there you are, lying in whatever position feels right, having glimpsed the magnificent absurdity of your soul's journey. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, learning exactly what you came here to learn, surrounded by a cast of characters who love you enough to help you remember who you really are, even if that help sometimes comes disguised as life's most challenging experiences. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it,"